One of the first real jobs I had was doing door-to-door sales. The pay was purely commission-based, meaning it was entirely possible to spend an entire week working 60 hours and still make nothing. Luckily, the training they gave was exceptional, and one particular concept has stayed with me to this day, helping me achieve massive success in all aspects of my life: the law of averages. To understand this law and its relevance to you, let me give you some context. My job was to sell telecommunication services, TV, internet, and home phone services. I spent most of my day knocking on doors, looking for potential buyers. There were three types of people I encountered. The most common type, these were the hard-nosed customers. They were completely satisfied with their current provider, had no issues, and didn't want to hear about any other options. These were often the same people who chased you off their porch with surprising energy. Only the top-tier salespeople could convince them to buy, and even then the success rate was extremely low. These people made up about 80% of consumers. The medium difficulty consumers. These were less common but made up about 10% of consumers. They weren't in love with their current provider, but they weren't unhappy enough to leave. They had a few complaints, but generally weren't looking to switch. These people were willing to listen, though. The best salespeople could convert some of these leads, while moderately skilled salespeople could close a couple. But for a beginner, making a sale here would be tough. The easy consumers. These were rare, but they were essentially guaranteed sales. They already had issues with their provider and were thinking about switching, but hadn't taken action yet. If you found these customers, no matter how bad of a salesperson you were, all you had to do was not mess up the paperwork, and the sale was yours. Finding these consumers was almost like a 100% success rate. The law of averages states that the more you do something, the more likely you are to eventually encounter the desired outcome. In my case, if I spent the day encountering only hard-nosed consumers, I didn't get discouraged because I knew that if I kept knocking on doors, eventually I would meet an easy consumer. I vividly remember one day when I had just finished training and was sent out on my own. I found myself in a huge apartment complex with 15 floors and over 300 doors. I spent 10 hours knocking on doors, getting yelled at constantly. In my head, I was thinking, forget the law of averages. This is all about territory, product price, and the weather. I told myself, I'll prove them wrong. I'll knock on every door and show them the law of averages is a hoax. But by the time I got to the last 3 doors on the ground floor, guess what? They were all easy customers, and they practically begged to switch over. I was amazed by the power of the law of averages. Years later, working in that environment, this mindset became deeply ingrained in me. Now, how does the law of averages apply to you? Even if you don't work in sales, the principle is universal. Whatever your goal is, you're going to face a lot of rejection, mostly hard rejections, a few indifferent ones, and occasionally you'll find opportunities that are practically handed to you. Whether it's dating, getting a job, or gaining recognition for creative work, most people will reject you. But remember, the more action you take and the more rejections you face, the closer you are to finding those who will embrace what you offer. So if you want to find a girlfriend, you need to approach more women. If you want a decent job, apply to more places. If you want recognition for your creative work, just keep creating. Don't be discouraged by early rejection because that's part of the process. Life is a numbers game, and the odds are never in your favor. But if you keep playing, you'll win. That, my friend, is the law of averages.